They chased perfection, but the results left some of Hollywood's most recognizable faces almost unrecognizable. From extreme fillers and repeated facelifts to procedures, they later regretted these transformations, shocked fans worldwide. Watch all 18 dramatic then and now stories and subscribe to Hollywood Legends Remembered for more celebrity revelations. Lisa Rinna. Lisa Rinna did not become famous only because of her acting. Her lips became part of the image on Days of Our Lives, Melrose Place, and later reality television. That bold look made her instantly recognizable. But the feature that helped turn her into a pop culture figure also came with a price. In her 20s, Rinna had silicone injected into her lips, a decision that seemed small at the time but stayed with her for decades. Instead of fading naturally like modern fillers, the silicone remained. Over the years, scar tissue developed and her lips changed in ways she could no longer fully control. What happens when the beauty choice that made you famous becomes the thing people judge most? Rinna eventually underwent corrective surgery to reduce the effects, but she could not completely erase what had been done. The public kept talking, comparing old photos, questioning her choices, and turning her face into entertainment. In Hollywood, aging already comes with pressure. For Rinna, that pressure was multiplied because one decision had become her signature. What makes her story different is that she never fully disappeared under regret. She has been honest about the risks, admitted that not every cosmetic choice worked in her favor, and still found a way to own the image people criticized. Lisa Rinna's transformation is not just about surgery. It is about branding, pressure, confidence, and the long shadow of one permanent decision. Joan Van Ark. For Joan Van Ark, the cruelest spotlight did not come during the height of her fame. It came years later when cameras stopped focusing on her acting and began studying every change in her face. Once remembered for playing Valine Ewing on Knots Landing in Dallas, she became another example of how Hollywood can turn aging into a public trial. In her prime, Van Ark had a bright, expressive screen presence that made her easy to recognize. But as the years passed, fans and tabloids began speculating about cosmetic procedures, from facelifts and eyelid work to fillers and skin treatments. She never built a public confession around those rumors, yet the conversation around her appearance became louder than the conversation around her career. When did Hollywood decide that growing older naturally was a failure? Public appearances brought harsh comments. Some viewers felt her features looked dramatically different, while others saw something sadder. A talented actress caught in an industry that punishes women for aging, then mocks them for trying to resist it. That is what makes Joan Van Ark's story uncomfortable. It is not only about surgery or speculation. It is about pressure judgment and the way a long career can be reduced to before and after photos. She deserves to be remembered as more than a warning story. Behind the headlines was an actress with decades of work discipline and a legacy no cosmetic debate should erase. Linda Evangelista. For years, Linda Evangelista was not just a model. She was one of the faces that defined the supermodel era. She appeared on hundreds of magazine covers, worked with the biggest fashion houses, and carried the kind of confidence that made cameras follow her everywhere. Then almost suddenly, she disappeared. The reason was not age scandal or a fading career. Linda later revealed that a cosmetic fat-freezing procedure had left her with paradoxical adipose hyperplasia, a rare side effect that caused areas of her body to enlarge instead of shrink. What was supposed to be a routine beauty treatment became a physical and emotional nightmare. How does a woman known for perfection handle being changed by the very industry that sold perfection to her? For Linda, the damage went far beyond appearance. She said she became depressed, withdrawn, and unable to recognize herself. The world that once celebrated her face and body suddenly felt impossible to face. Instead of walking runways, she lived in hiding, carrying shame that should never have belonged to her. In 2021, she filed a lawsuit against the company behind the procedure and later spoke publicly about what happened. Her honesty changed the conversation. This was no longer just celebrity gossip. It became a warning about beauty treatments' hidden risks and the pressure placed on women to keep looking untouched by time. Linda Evangelista's story is painful because she did not chase excess. She trusted a procedure and paid for it with years of her life. Katie Price. Katie Price, better known by her former modeling name Jordan, became one of Britain's most talked-about glamour models and reality TV personalities. Her career was built around tabloid attention television appearances, business deals, and a public image that was constantly changing. Over time, cosmetic surgery became one of the most visible parts of that image. Price has openly discussed having breast augmentations, facelifts, lip fillers, Botox, and other procedures. Unlike many celebrities who hide cosmetic work, she often spoke about it directly. But that honesty also meant every new change became public property judged by fans, tabloids, and critics. When reinvention becomes part of your career, how do you know when it has gone too far? Some of Price's procedures did not turn out the way she wanted. She has admitted feeling unhappy after certain treatments, and there have been reports of doctors warning her against further surgery because of health concerns. Still, she continued returning to cosmetic work caught between personal choice, public pressure, and the attention surrounding her appearance. Her story is not just about vanity. It is about a celebrity culture that rewards dramatic transformation, then attacks the person for changing too much. Katie Price remains bold, controversial, and impossible to ignore. But her cosmetic journey also shows the cost of living under a spotlight that never stops judging. LaToya Jackson. LaToya Jackson grew up in a family where fame, image, and comparison were impossible to escape. As the sister of Michael and Janet Jackson, she was never judged only as an individual artist. Every public appearance carried the weight of the Jackson name, and every change in her style or appearance became part of a much larger conversation. In the 1980s, LaToya tried to build her own career as a singer, actress, author, and television personality. She released music, appeared on television, and worked to separate her identity from one of the most famous families in entertainment history. But over time, the public became less focused on her work and more focused on her changing face. Fans and tabloids speculated about nose work, facial procedures, fillers, and other cosmetic choices, even though LaToya has never fully explained every detail herself. How hard is it to control your own image when the world keeps comparing you to your family? That silence left room for rumors, criticism, and harsh comparisons, especially to Michael's own transformation. But LaToya's story is more complicated than simple vanity. The Jackson family lived under extreme pressure involving beauty, race control, reinvention, and public judgment. Her changing appearance became another way the media measured her. But behind the cosmetic speculation was a woman trying to stay visible, stay separate, and survive inside a legacy that never stopped following her. Donatella Versace. Donatella Versace was never only a fashion designer working behind the scenes. After the death of her brother Gianni Versace in 1997, she became the public face of one of the most recognizable luxury brands in the world. Every runway show interview and red carpet appearance placed her under a spotlight that judged not only her work, but also her image. As the years passed, Donatella's appearance became almost as discussed as the clothes she created. Fashion critics, tabloids, and fans speculated about cosmetic procedures, including fillers, Botox, and facial work. She did not build her identity around explaining every change, but the public conversation around her face grew louder with each appearance. In an industry obsessed with youth glamour and perfection, even the woman shaping the fantasy was not free from its pressure. What happens when the person selling beauty is expected to look flawless forever? Donatella's transformation became controversial because it showed the double standard at the heart of fashion. The industry celebrates dramatic style, artificial glamour, and impossible ideals, then criticizes women when those same ideals leave visible marks. Yet despite years of comments about her appearance, Donatella remained powerful. She continued leading Versace, influencing celebrity fashion, and protecting the legacy her brother left behind. Her story is not simply about cosmetic surgery. It is about control, grief, reinvention, and the cost of becoming the living symbol of a brand built on beauty. Caitlyn Jenner. Before the world knew her as Caitlyn Jenner, she had already lived one public life as an Olympic gold medalist and television personality. Fame followed her for decades. But in 2015, her Vanity Fair cover introduced a transformation far more personal than any red carpet makeover. It was not just about looking younger. It was about being seen as herself. As part of her transition, Caitlyn underwent facial feminization procedures and other cosmetic work to align her appearance with her identity. That made her different from many celebrities in this list. Her surgeries were not presented as regret damage or a failed attempt to chase youth. They were part of a deeply personal journey towards self-recognition. What happens when a private identity becomes a public spectacle overnight? Still, Caitlyn's appearance became heavily debated. Critics discussed her face skin features and later cosmetic choices as if her body belonged to public opinion. Some praised her courage, while others turned her transformation into gossip. That scrutiny revealed how quickly society can claim to support authenticity while still judging every visible change. Caitlyn Jenner's story is not a simple warning about plastic surgery. It is about fame, gender, aging, identity, and the pressure of becoming a symbol when all she wanted was to live more honestly. Lil' Kim. Lil' Kim entered hip-hop as a shockwave. Her music, fashion confidence, and sexual boldness made her one of the most influential female rappers of the 1990s. She did not follow the industry's rules quietly. She forced people to look, listen, and react. But over time, the conversation around her changed from talent to appearance. As the years passed, fans noticed major changes in her face and body. Reports and public speculation pointed to nosework, skin treatments, fillers, and other cosmetic procedures. Lil' Kim herself has spoken about deep insecurity and feeling judged against beauty standards that were never kind to her. In an industry that praises confidence but attacks women for not fitting the right image, her transformation became painfully public. What happens when a woman known for control starts changing herself under a spotlight that never stops criticizing? The backlash was brutal. Instead of focusing on her influence in rap, many reduced her to before and after photos. Some fans mourned the look she had in the 1990s, while critics used her appearance as a punchline. That kind of attention can turn personal choices into public punishment. Lil' Kim's story is not only about cosmetic surgery. It is about fame, insecurity, beauty pressure, and the cost of being judged for decades by an industry that first demanded perfection, then mocked the attempt to reach it. Melanie Griffith. Melanie Griffith once had the kind of Hollywood beauty that felt effortless on screen. In films like Working Girl, she carried a soft voice, bright presence, and vulnerable charm that made audiences connect with her immediately. But as the years passed, the attention around her shifted from her performances to the visible changes in her face. During the late 1990s and 2000s, Griffith became one of the celebrities most often discussed in conversations about cosmetic surgery. Reports and public commentary pointed to Botox fillers and facial procedures that changed the natural expression fans remembered. The criticism became so loud that Griffith later admitted she did not fully realize how different she looked until people around her began pointing it out. What happens when the pressure to stay young quietly turns into the thing people remember most? Unlike some stars who deny everything, Griffith has been unusually honest about regret. She acknowledged that some cosmetic work went too far and said she tried to correct parts of it. That honesty made her story more human. She was not simply chasing vanity. She was living inside an industry where actresses are praised for beauty, punished for aging, and mocked when they try to fight time. Melanie Griffith's transformation became a warning about Hollywood's impossible standards. Behind the headlines was a talented actress, learning that the pursuit of youth can sometimes take away the very softness that once made a face unforgettable. Brigitte Nielsen. At 44, Brigitte Nielsen did something many stars would never risk. She allowed cameras to follow her through a series of cosmetic procedures. The Danish actress, known for Red Sonja Rocky 4, and her towering screen presence had once been admired for a striking look that made her impossible to miss. But Hollywood rarely lets women age without pressure. Her televised transformation included work often associated with facelifts, eyelid surgery, Botox fillers, and body contouring. The idea was to refresh her appearance, but the public reaction was divided. Some viewers saw confidence and honesty. Others felt the procedures changed the sharp, distinctive features that had once made her stand out. When a star changes in front of cameras, is it empowerment or pressure dressed up as choice? Nielsen has never presented herself as fragile about the subject. She has spoken openly about wanting to maintain her appearance, and has continued to appear on television reality shows and public events with the same bold personality that made her famous. That confidence matters, but it does not erase the larger question behind her story. Brigitte Nielsen's cosmetic journey shows how complicated beauty becomes under fame. She made her own choices, but those choices happened inside an industry that constantly rewards youth spectacle and reinvention. Her transformation remains controversial because it sits between self-control, public pressure, and the cost of trying to stay visible. Suzanne Somers. Suzanne Somers was once remembered for a face that felt bright, natural, and full of expression. As Chrissy Snow on Three's Company, she had the kind of easy television beauty that did not look forced. That is why later changes in her appearance became so noticeable to fans who had grown up watching her. As the years passed, Somers became closely associated with anti-aging ideas, hormone treatments, supplements, and beauty routines. But the public conversation did not stop there. Viewers also began pointing to signs of cosmetic work, including a tighter jawline, smoother forehead, fuller-looking lips, and facial changes that made her expressions appear less relaxed than before. When the face people loved starts looking too polished, does the pursuit of youth become impossible to hide? The problem was not that Somers wanted to look good as she aged. The problem was that the results at times seemed to work against the warmth that made her famous. Her once soft screen presence became part of a debate about Botox fillers and how far Hollywood women are expected to go to keep looking camera-ready. Somers often defended her choices and built an entire brand around health, beauty, and longevity. Still, her transformation remains a cautionary example of what happens when the fight against aging becomes visible on the very face people once admired for its natural charm. Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn was once famous for a face that matched her screen personality, bright, playful, relaxed, and full of life. In films like Overboard Private Benjamin and The First Wives Club, her charm came from expressions that felt loose and spontaneous. That is why later changes in her appearance drew so much attention. As she got older, fans began noticing that her face looked smoother, fuller, and tighter than before. Public speculation pointed to Botox fillers and possible facial work, especially around her cheeks, eyes, and jawline. The changes were not subtle to longtime viewers. Her smile sometimes appeared less natural, and her expressions seemed more controlled than the lively look people remembered from her earlier career. When a star's greatest charm is natural expression, what happens when that expression starts to look restricted? Goldie has spoken positively about aging and often presents herself as confident, energetic, and free-spirited. But that message created a sharp contrast with the public debate around her appearance. To some fans, she remained graceful and fun. To others, the visible signs of cosmetic work showed how even beloved actresses feel pressured to preserve youth. Her story is not only about surgery rumors. It is about the impossible standard placed on women who made audiences love their faces, then grew older in front of a camera that forgives almost nothing. Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton became one of country music's most recognizable figures through her voice, songwriting humor, and unforgettable stage presence. From Jolene to 9 to 5, she built a career that went far beyond music. But her appearance also became part of the Dolly Parton image: big hair, heavy makeup, glamorous outfits, and a look designed to be noticed. As the years passed, Dolly openly discussed using cosmetic procedures to maintain that image. Reports and interviews have connected her to facelifts, eyelid surgery, Botox, and other enhancements. The changes helped preserve her polished public style, but they also made her face appear tighter and less natural than in her early country years. When a star's image becomes legendary, how much pressure is there to keep that image alive forever? Dolly's case is different because she often meets criticism with humor. She has joked about surgery and treated glamour as part of her performance, not something to hide. Still, her transformation shows the cost of maintaining the same public look for decades. Fans expect her to remain bright, camera-ready, and larger than life even as time changes everyone. Her cosmetic journey is not only about vanity or regret. It is about control, branding pressure, and the burden of being an icon whose appearance became almost as famous as her songs. Janice Dickinson. On runways, magazine covers, and fashion shoots, Janice Dickinson carried the confidence of someone who knew the camera wanted her. She called herself the world's first supermodel. And whether people agreed or not, there was no denying that she became one of the loudest, boldest faces in modeling culture. But as the years passed, her image became tied to something more complicated than fashion. Dickinson spoke openly about cosmetic surgery, including breast augmentation facelifts, Botox fillers, and corrective procedures. Unlike stars who tried to hide every change, she often treated surgery as part of her public life. That honesty made her memorable, but it also kept her appearance under constant judgment. When beauty has been your currency for decades, what happens when the mirror starts feeling like pressure? Some procedures did not bring the results she wanted. Dickinson appeared on shows connected to cosmetic repair, including work to correct earlier surgery problems. The changes in her face and body became a major part of how the media discussed her, sometimes overshadowing the modeling career that made her famous in the first place. Her story shows the harsh side of beauty culture. The industry rewards youth, sharp features, and perfection, then mocks the people who chase those standards too visibly. Janice Dickinson remains outspoken and unapologetic, but her transformation also reveals how expensive the fight to stay camera-ready can become. Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers had one of the most recognizable voices in country music. With songs like The Gambler Lady and Islands in the Stream, he became a warm, familiar presence to millions of fans. His white beard, calm smile, and gentle eyes were part of the image people trusted for decades. That is why the change in his face later became so noticeable. Rogers admitted that he had cosmetic surgery around his eyes, hoping to look younger and fresher for the camera. But the result was not what he wanted. Instead of simply softening age, the procedure changed the shape and expression of his eyes, making his face look tighter and less relaxed than fans remembered. What happens when a small change to look younger alters the very expression people loved most? Kenny Rogers spoke honestly about regretting the surgery. He said he was not happy with the way it turned out, and many fans felt the same. The sadness of his case is that he did not need a dramatic reinvention. His appeal had always come from warmth, sincerity, and a face that matched the comfort of his music. His story became one of Hollywood's clearest warnings about cosmetic work. For Kenny Rogers, the issue was not vanity alone. It was pressure image and one decision that changed how people saw a legend they already loved. Mickey Rourke. In the 1980s, Mickey Rourke looked like Hollywood's next dangerous leading man. Films like 9½ Weeks, Angel, Heart, and Diner gave him a rough charm that felt different from the polished movie stars around him. His face had intensity, softness, and danger at the same time, exactly the kind of look cameras loved. But Rourke's transformation did not come only from vanity. After stepping away from acting and returning to boxing, he suffered injuries that led to reconstructive surgery. He later admitted that he went to the wrong doctor and the results changed his face in ways he did not expect. His nose, cheeks, and overall expression looked heavier, tighter, and less natural than the younger actor fans remembered. What happens when surgery meant to repair damage ends up changing the face that made someone famous? The public reaction was harsh. Many people compared old photos to later appearances and treated his face like a Hollywood cautionary tale. But Rourke's story is more complicated than a celebrity chasing youth. He was trying to fix real damage, yet the repair work became another kind of wound in the public eye. When the wrestler brought him back to serious acclaim, his changed appearance actually added to the pain of the role. Mickey Rourke's face became part of his legend, marked by boxing, bad surgery, regret, and survival. Amanda Lepore. In New York nightlife, Amanda Lepore became impossible to overlook. She was not a traditional Hollywood actress, but her image traveled far beyond the club scene. Photographers, fashion designers, musicians, and magazines were drawn to her because she looked like a living pop art figure, exaggerated, polished, and completely intentional. Amanda's transformation was tied to both identity and performance. As a transgender woman, some of her surgeries were part of becoming the person she knew herself to be. But later, cosmetic choices pushed her appearance into something more extreme. Fuller lips, a tighter face, sculpted features, and a body shaped around old-school glamour taken to its limit. When your face becomes your artwork, where does self-expression end and public judgment begin? Lepore has often presented her look with confidence, not regret. She turned artificial beauty into a personal brand, using it to become a nightlife icon and fashion muse. But that also meant people constantly stared, questioned, and treated her body like a spectacle. Her story is different from celebrities who quietly chased youth and later regretted it. Amanda Lepore seemed to choose exaggeration on purpose. Still, her transformation shows the pressure and power of image, the desire to control how the world sees you, even when that control comes with lifelong scrutiny.